Welcome to the Walking America podcast. Today we're speaking with Matt. Matt found us on the same road he'd found a father and son walking across the country on years prior. There he was invited to bike the country on the Father's Thank You Tour. He did. Having reached every continent but one, Matt has quite the drive to adventure, and we have found a great friend in this fellow traveler. I'm joined by my wife Paige, and I'm your host. Welcome to the podcast, Matt.
Well, thank you very much. Great to be with you guys.
Yeah, it's good to be with you too. I'm glad that we were able to make it work. Matt
Yes.
right now is actually in Fairbanks, Alaska. What brought you there?
Adventure. 35 years ago, I dropped out of college and grabbed a backpack and went to find myself somewhere in Alaska. I still don't know if I found myself. I had a great time traveling, went to Fairbanks, made it to Fairbanks, and really fell in love with Fairbanks. Went back down to Colorado and finished my degree and put in a career. And now I'm semi-retired and wanted to come back to Fairbanks, Alaska. I love to hunt, and I love Alaska. So that's the short story of how I ended up in Fairbanks.
What are you doing out there right now in Fairbanks?
I'm teaching health and PE at West Valley High School in Fairbanks, and then I'm also coaching the girls flag football team. That is a new experience for me. I have coached many sports for the last 36 years. I've never coached flag football, so a lot of gridiron football, but never flag football. But it's going well. I'm enjoying it. The girls are great, and it's a fun experience.
What are you doing in your free time out there in Alaska?
Well, so far I haven't had any free time. In the summer, I got here about 2 weeks before I started coaching, and they have a semi-pro baseball team here, Gold Panthers baseball. Went to several of those. They have great museums, and they have lots of hiking. Obviously, hunting hasn't started yet. At least for rifle. But Chena Hot Springs is a great place, about an hour away from Fairbanks. So there's so much beauty to see and adventure to be had. Fairbanks has a lot more than people realize, I think.
Yeah, I think when a lot of us think of Alaska, we picture the last frontier and people living out in log cabins and just forest everywhere.
Yep.
Fairbanks is larger, right? How developed is that?
Well, Fairbanks is the second biggest city in Alaska, next to Anchorage. But that's exactly what we think. And I remember that's what I thought when I was 19 years old and traveling. I thought I'd see Eskimos and igloos everywhere, and it's obviously not like that. But the smaller villages are very very remote and everything. I think the TV shows, The Last Frontier and Bush People and all that that we watch on TV about Alaska gives us a realistic side of a very, very small portion of the way people live up here. They take the cameras where they're really remote, and so I think it's a pretty developed state. It's just we don't see that on TV a lot. So.
Yeah, how would you distinguish the difference between Alaska and America? We can cross a county line ourselves on the walk and see big cultural differences, but I'm sure Alaska is quite different. Is it? How rural is it out there?
Well, it's very rural, but on the same token, when you get into some of these the bigger cities, we got 2 Fred Meyers here, we got a Walmart, we got Home Depot, Lowe's. We're very developed here in Fairbanks, and Anchorage is too. But you get out and about, and it does get pretty rural, and which is great. You kind of have the combination of both. But in terms of the lower 48. You only fly in here or, you can drive in like I did, but that Alcon highway is pretty remote. But what a beautiful drive. I encourage anybody to take the Alpine Highway anytime they can. We saw bikers and walkers and motorcycles, campers, cars, trucks. We saw it all coming up. But yeah, Alaska's pretty remote. You fly in uh, or boat in, and so yeah, it's pretty remote.
Is there a different kind of wildlife that you get to see up there?
Oh yeah, I'm hoping to get a bear and a moose is what I would love to do. I'm a big hunter, would love to hunt. Uh, well, I will be hunting. I worked to get my residency up here, and when I was teaching in Nome. But yeah, I'd love to hunt. The moose and the bear are just. We saw 6 bears on the Alpine Highway coming up right off the road. It was awesome. Saw moose, saw caribou. So yeah, don't see a lot of grizzly bears in the lower 48. They're out there a little bit, but not a whole lot. So
Oh. Yeah, that's fantastic. I've spent literal months out in the mountains, and I saw a black bear for the first time in Wisconsin in a little patch of woods, but basically surrounded by farmland. And
yeah,
yeah,
I'll be darned. Yeah.
yeah, that's incredible. What were your preparations for going out there?
Which time, today or this time?
No, what were your preparations for going out to Alaska this time, this year, or even the first time? I imagine if you're preparing to hunt, you're preparing different gear, right? Or are
Yes.
you still in
Yes.
the middle of preparation for the bush?
Yeah. Well, the first time I didn't have a clue. I was on a boat going nowhere, but I grabbed a backpack and just stuffed it full of everything I thought I'd need. Uh, I actually way overpacked it, but this time, yeah, you have your hunting gear and all. You've got to have a lot of rain gear here, and you definitely hunting is different here because it's so remote when you get out there in the bush that you need 4-wheelers and sometimes all the well, obviously all the time, all the camping equipment and everything. But sometimes you need to be flown in or a boat to get in, and you're not going to, uh, you know, gut and skin a moose by yourself and drag it out. You've got to have people too. So, it's really hard. You either have to know people that have all that equipment, or spend a fortune and get it all. So I'm trying, or hire a guide, and guides are pretty expensive from the lower 48. Those are upwards of $30,000 to $35,000 from door to door. But I'm trying to meet people up here and pay my dues and maybe be invited, or I can purchase a local guide, and as a resident it's usually cheaper. I just haven't had the time. I've been here about a month and I've just been full on with teaching and coaching, but um, if not this year, maybe next.
You expect to be there that long?
Well, not sure, probably not, but I bought a little condo here, so I'm hoping to be able to, well, I will be able to come back next fall and stay here, uh, and hunt, and then return back to Kansas. So I probably will not be teaching here in another year. I just wanted to be able to come experience it for a year, and I'll play it by year. But more than likely, I'll be heading back down to Kansas. If I come back up, it'll just be to hunt next year. Yeah.
Well, just going through all of our own preparations, I have to ask, did you find any good rain gear? What should I even be looking for?
Well,
Solution is frog togs.
yeah, there's different local companies up here that outfitters and everything, and really I don't have uh, a specific choice or anything, but once I get to go hunting, I'm gonna go talk to the outfitters and find out what they recommend. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. It sounds like you have local products even.
Oh, yep, we do here in Fairbanks. Yep, local outfitters um, some of the big commercial ones are here in Fairbanks as well. Dick's and different places. Yep. So
That, that's nice. I wish that I had like a someone to whittle down the Amazon choices for me a little bit better.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yep.
Probably a lot better up there than
They got to be good. They got to be good. That's for sure.
Well, there was a reason that you stopped us after seeing us walking down the road that you did. You'd met someone doing something similar. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Excuse me. I think it was in 17. Yeah, I was driving from Colorado to visit my brother in Smith Center, Kansas. And a couple days earlier, I had heard, I saw a post about um, a man and his daughter or son, excuse me, 11-year-old son walking across America to raise awareness and funds for type 1 or for diabetes. And the 11-year-old boy had diabetes, so they were walking across America. And I came up over a ridge in Kansas outside of Oberlin, about where I am now, and saw him and instantly locked up the brakes, pulled over, talked to him. And the father said that when they get to the West Coast in Blaine, Washington, that he is going to pedal bike back across to the East Coast. Would I like to join him? He said he asked thousands of people over the internet and everything, and sure enough, I knew I would do it. I didn't say yes then, but I knew I would do it. It took me about 3 weeks to get the courage to say yes. I contacted him. I said, yes, I'm in. Let me know when you're done with the walk. So I met him in Burbank, California. I flew into Burbank. The night before we left, we went and we bought 2 bikes that from off Craigslist. We didn't have any equipment or anything. We just had a big heart and a determination to get to the East Coast and started to ride. And he said people will donate things, and he was absolutely right. So I did have a helmet. I did have a cushion on my seat because I knew I would need that. And we just started pedal biking through LA, and that's kind of the short story of it. And people donated different things as we kind of went along, as you all know. So that's how that happened. And I met you guys.
Did you have any notable experiences biking across the country?
Oh, it was the best experience. It was by far. I've been blessed enough to travel the world almost twice, meet all kinds of people, good people like you guys, and had lots and lots of adventures. But that was just the single most. I have a hard time putting words to it. Even it was just incredible, the experience. And I think the best experience is there's a lot of good people out there in America, and if you watch our news and listen to our news, you can get pretty sick pretty quick, sick to the stomach. But there is a lot of good people out there, and I wish we reported more on that than just the bad.
Yeah,
I completely agree.
I agree. It just brings the good people out of the woodwork, you know.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. I love it. It creates a kind of selection bias for you, but you know, that is happening with our filter bubbles in the news and on Google and whatever kind of social media. And it's just a really good way of setting yourself up to see the good that's out there.
Yes. And you just pray you don't see the bad, but because it is out there. But there is so much more good than we think, than we're told, I guess. And you're right. It's just a great filter to bring the good people out of the woodwork. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think everyone should experience some sort of adventure, whether it's biking for a little bit or walking or
Yep.
just experience the people and experience living with less and realizing that happiness comes from within.
Yes, you are so right, Paige. I couldn't agree with you more. I think everyone's a little concerned about stepping out of their comfort zone, obviously, but some are a lot more concerned, and some are just paralyzed and they won't do it at all. But I couldn't agree with you more. If more people would step out and do these kind of adventures, they would see and experience what we've seen and experienced. And I understand a lot of times it's not possible for people to do that, but by the grace of God, we're able to do that and see so much good in people out there.
Had you done any kind of hard physical activity like that in the past? Any endurance stuff?
Well, I lived a very, very active lifestyle as a kid growing up and as an adult, but no, prior to that, I mean, I had never done anything to that degree, you know, very active lifestyle, lots of sports and activities, but never like that. No, excuse me, I had not.
What was it like? What was it like acclimating to?
Well, it was very hard physically. I mean, the third day in, we were on the border of uh, California and Arizona, and my legs were so sore. It was just I could hardly walk. I could hardly pedal. I would the third day. I mean, I literally pedaled and would just be grimacing the whole time, and then coast as far as I could, and pedal and coast as far as I could. And I can't remember the name of the town, dang it, but I got into that town about 9:30 at night. The guy I was with, I was the one that slowed us up throughout the whole trip. I averaged about 75 miles. He could have gone more, but that's about how many miles we averaged a day. But that third day, I got in real late, and I had to do something because I could just hardly walk, much less bike. And the place we were staying, the hotel, the pool, the heater wasn't working. So it was just ice cold water. And I thought, maybe I need to get this lactic acid and get the inflammation down. So I sat in that and I started rubbing my legs. And it was the absolute best pain I've ever been through because it was very uncomfortable and very, very hard to rub your legs because it hurt like crazy. But the end result was it felt better. And so we took a day off. I went and actually got my legs massaged, real good by a professional. And that day off helped. And then I went and bought a little roller that I carried in my bag next to me as on the bike. And I would stop literally on the side of a highway and stretch and rub my legs out. And I did that for a couple weeks. And every night I'd take an ice bath. I'd just take the trash can in the hotel room, go fill it up with ice, get the ice bucket, fill it up, start the cold water, and take an ice bath. I did that every night for about a couple weeks. And then I got kind of acclimated to it. My body did, my legs did, and couldn't believe it. Rode into Tybee Island 2 months later. Yeah, it took us 2 months. So
that's a lot of miles for a day.
Yeah, it is. It was plenty enough for me, I can tell you that.
I think it sounds like you put yourself through more than we've probably ever put ourselves through.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't sleeping on the side of a road either, oftentimes, and camping.
Yeah.
We thought we would have to do that, but we had a vehicle trailing us, and his wife would take us into town and get a hotel and everything. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe as a 20-something-year-old, I could have slept in camp. That would have been really cool. But at the age of 56, I wasn't ready to sleep in a ditch on the side of the road.
That's its own sort of adjustment for sure.
Yeah.
Pretty rough sleeping at first, but
yeah. I remember you saying that, Paige. I remember you saying the first night for you was just brutal.
Oh yeah, I was like, my hopes were way down. I was like, man, this isn't gonna work.
Yeah.
Life.
You didn't sleep at all, and how long did that take you to get used to?
It got a little better every single day. I would say within a week, I was able to sleep most of the night with a little tossing and turning, but
yeah,
within a month, you're like just completely acclimated to the mat.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
We're staying in a house now, and I have access to a bed, but I continue to sleep on the floor because I'm so used to sleeping on
Yeah.
a harder surface now.
Oh my gosh.
But that it's hard to sleep in too squishy of a bed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. I mean, I like staying indoors. When people invite us in and they offer us a bed,
Oh yeah.
I won't turn it down. But
Yeah. You
Okay.
ain't kidding.
yeah, mostly for the air conditioning. I do often find that a squishy bed kind of disturbs my sleep for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would, well, you're acclimated to a hard surface, and there's not much squishy ground out there to sleep on. So
Oh.
you're used to the hard, that's for sure.
Yep.
So, if I recall correctly, you said you've traveled to just about every continent. Is that right?
I have been, except Antarctica. Yep. Yep. The year I taught down in Australia in 2011, I went down there on a teacher exchange and lived down there for a year and taught. And that year I went to 6 different countries. And so I experienced a lot that year right there, but I'm still wanting to get to Antarctica. Yep. Still wanting to get there.
Are your plans in motion?
No, they aren't. They are in my head, but I haven't put them to work. So, I wanted to go down there and live for 6 months. You can go down there. Planes only go in and out of there twice a year, every 6 months. So I was going to go down there. They actually had some kind of a little donut hut or shop or something, and I was going to work there for 6 months and just experience life in Antarctica. But then the first question they asked was, look, planes only come in and out of here twice a year. And if something happens back home, God forbid a loved one dies or a friend or whatever, you're not going to the funeral. And can you handle that? And I said, absolutely not. So I went, I'm thinking about plan B. And that is, taking a cruise down there, which is a lot more expensive, and I really wanted to stay down there for 6 months. Even if you hate it, you can do anything for 6 months. You can stand on your head for 6 months. But I just didn't want to. I can't be down there and stuck down there. God forbid something happens to my family or friends, and I can't get out of there. So plan B is going to be to try and take a cruise down there, and less than ideal, but I mean it'd still be fun.
How long will the cruise have you out there?
I don't know. I don't know how long. I think it's more of a just a day or two. I need to get all those questions answered, but I think it's more of a just kind of see it and get back on the ship and move on.
Well, having the kind of wide net that you do for cultural experience, how different have the people been? Was there any continent or country that you've been to that you were like, this is really different?
There are several of them, starting with Australia. I mean, in Australia, I thought I went back to the 70s and 80s. It was awesome. I loved it. But their dialect and the dialect to their voice and their terminology of words is just so different. I mean, I was in my last day there after 365 days, and I was still saying, what does that mean? Or can you please say that again? Uh, it's a beautiful language, but and I didn't know that we have an accent to them. The kids were saying, man, we just love your accent. Just keep talking. We love your, and and I said, man, I don't have a different accent. I was so ignorant. I was so ignorant, so dumb that I thought they're the ones with the accent. And so they love ours and we love theirs. But I think they are much more used to ours because of TV. And so we are not so accustomed to theirs. And especially their terminology, of words. There's just a different, an incredible length of words like boot. Boot is the trunk of their car. That's just one of thousands of examples. And I remember somebody said, "Have you checked your boot?" I was looking for something. "Have you checked your boot?" And I thought, what the world are they talking about? And that went on just about daily for 365 days. It was incredible. So yeah, Australia was different in that way. But you go to these third world countries, and obviously it's just so different. This the way of living and all, and it's mind-boggling how blessed we are in America, and then we just want more and more and more, and I fall into that trap, and I hate myself for it. I've seen people living in third world countries in the poverty, complete poverty, and I get back to the States and forget how blessed I am and how fortunate I am, and get into that more and more and more routine. And when it hits me like a sack of rocks, because I get disappointed in myself.
It's weird how easily we can forget. We can experience that or just be extremely aware in some moments and just forget it and
Yep.
just completely lose sight of that fact
Yep.
that we have much here.
You are so right, Paige. You are so right. It is just incredible. It's almost, I call it a disease. I really do.
Yeah.
I call it a disease,
Yeah.
it's almost like it's just like having the flu or something. We're sickened in that we just want more and more and more. And to a point, that's not necessarily a bad thing all in all. But not being appreciative and thankful for what we have and what the Lord's given us that is a problem.
Yeah.
Period.
Especially when you think that it's going to bring you happiness. That's
Yeah.
one of the worst parts.
Right.
Well, and
Right.
it seems particularly bad in the more urbanized areas. I know when we finally got to Denver after walking through Kansas, Paige and I were walking around the downtown, and we were like, what is going on? We had just lived in Denver for 8 months, That was
Just
where we were before the walk, but it suddenly seemed so much more sick. Like you said, it's like there's a disease because you
Yeah.
can conversations that people are having and what they're concerned with. And Kansas was so refreshing because it was a lot more about the relationships between the people. The people were
Yeah.
about another and not about the things that they were.
Yes. Yes. That
Yeah.
that hits the nail on the head. And that's what it is in some of these third world countries. They go to the parks, they spend time together as family and friends, and they're happy. They're happy. They don't have a brand new car and a big house with 5 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. But by golly, they're happy because of their family and friends. And that is true happiness. That is happiness.
I agree.
Yeah.
In your travels, have you experienced any danger? What's the scariest thing you faced?
Oh, well, let's see. Let me reflect on that. I probably have been in a lot more dangerous situations than I even knew of. But by the grace of God, got out of them. Um, oh, I was hunting actually with a friend in Costa Rica, and we were way out in the bush, and we uh, we were hunting, and the guide took us somewhere, and he said that we could shoot a certain kind of bird or something like that, and luckily we both missed. But when we got back to this I call it a house, but it was more of kind of a hut. The guide's boss was there, and he was very upset with the guide for letting us even shoot at that type of bird. Apparently, it wasn't okay. And we're out in the middle of nowhere in the bush. No one knows we're there. They just know we're in Flamingo, Costa Rica. And this boss was really, really upset with all three of us, mainly his guide. But my friend and I, we had not a clue. And we thought, man, if he wanted to, he could have uh, done something to us real quick, and no one would have ever found out. So That was probably off the top of my head. That was probably the scariest.
Why was he so upset by it? What was
Well, because the guide had us shooting at an incorrect bird, a bird that was not we were not able to shoot at.
Maybe a little
So,
more endangered or something, like
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
a little more endangered, possibly like
Right.
like
Yeah.
people.
And yeah, and I couldn't really understand why they were so mad, but it was just it was a bird that was not allowed to shoot at. So thank God we missed. We were very happy we missed. But the guide went back and told his boss, yeah, they missed such and such bird, and that's when his boss got real upset with him.
Was that the most exciting thing that you've been through? You have a most exciting moment?
Oh gosh, man, that's a hard question. Well, it was exciting, but I don't know if I had to go strictly off adrenaline. Maybe probably skydiving the first time in New Zealand. You know, that was a rush. Was skydiving in New Zealand. That was exciting. That was exciting in a good way, kind of a good bad way. But yeah, but I didn't worry about my safety. Or well, hold on, I did worry about my safety extremely, but I didn't worry about it as far as some guy getting mad and eliminating me and my buddy.
Not
So
too scary.
yeah.
Well, that's cool.
I've wondered to myself if I am the kind of person that could or would go skydiving. Something about it seems so terrifying to me. It's absolute relinquishment of control. Like, hopefully the parachute works. If it doesn't, hopefully the backup chute works. And if it doesn't, that's
Yeah.
just it.
Yep. That's exactly right. Yeah. And I went skydiving in Colorado and I did it tandem. So, you know, I was under the care of another human being and two parachutes. So, and it was still just absolutely terrifying. Yeah, you're right. They don't open, and um, there's not a whole lot you can do but fall. So,
I don't think I could do it. It's so scary.
yeah, it was very scary. That and bungee jumping was very, very scary.
Oh man, that sounds almost as bad.
Oh, I've seen some bungee fails that just look horrifying.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not sure what's more reliable. I assume, for some reason, I think skydiving might actually be more reliable than bungee jumping, but I don't know statistically if that's really true.
I don't know either. It would maybe make sense because you got a backup. You got a backup parachute. When you bungee jump, if that cord doesn't hold, you don't have a backup.
Yeah.
So
Big
I
go.
actually think I was more terrified bungee jumping in New Zealand. Yeah, I think that was that had me a little more fear than the skydiving. I don't know why, but they were both scary. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about the goodness of people for a moment pertaining to your cycling across America. Have there been any noteworthy moments with regard to the goodness of people in your traveling the continents?
Oh gosh, yes. Gosh, yes. You know, uh, oh, there's been many. You know, the first time I traveled Alaska, I mostly camped, but I met so many people that would invite me in to get a good night's sleep on a bed. You know, like you all were referring to earlier, in the third world countries, they have so little, but yet I always like to get off the tourist spots and meet the locals. I always like to meet the locals and see how they've you know, how they live and their lifestyles and everything, and get to know them. And they've been so gracious. They invite you in for birthday parties and all. It's just been I could go on and on about the people that in different, not only in America but just different countries that, like you all have experienced, just are so kind, so caring, invite you in, and and treat you, you know, like a king. And it's funny, but as far as getting off the beaten path, the worst trip I've ever been on was Cancun, Mexico. It was an all-inclusive uh, experience, all-inclusive resort, and I know a lot of people love that. and it has its benefits. I won't deny that, but I just got so sick and tired of being, um, you know, in a spot that is so resorty and so many people and everything, and it was just like a chunk of America right there on this beach and hotel and everything. And you had all the toys and everything, but I wanted to get out. So I asked one of the local bartenders who was a local. I said, hey, I'd like to get out of here and meet you and your family, and take me out to the different places you go to, restaurant, bars, wherever. And his eyes lit up, or both of their eyes lit up, and they could not believe, both bartenders could not believe I wanted to get out of there and go see them. So they got off work at 1 o'clock, and me being a little older, I went and took a nap. They woke me up at about 1 o'clock, and off we went. And and I met their families and their friends, and they took me to a couple different bars and everything. And it came back when the sun was coming up, and that was my favorite part of that trip. So yeah, the kindness of people in this world, not just America, is unbelievable. There's a lot of bad, obviously, but the problem is all we hear about is bad, 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 and we hear about it for 24 hours a day, every day. It's all we hear. But there's a lot of good people out there.
Yeah, we have to subject ourselves to some risk in order to actually see what's out there.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Absolutely. Yep. You got to step out and experience it. You got to step out to be able to experience it. Yes.
What would you say to the people who think of the world as this big, scary place and are afraid of traveling too far? Or even at all, some people, they've been in their home state or even their hometown their entire life.
Yes. Yes. And I just think I think it's very cool in the fact that they're very comfortable, and they probably more than likely love their home and they feel safe and comfortable. But I do think it's sad at the same time, because there's a big world out there and so many people don't get to experience it. And I wish that they could. I wish that they would get out and experience it, because I think I know there's a whole lot of benefits to it, and it's just sad that they're missing out on that. And I don't mean to be judgmental on them, but a lot of people don't have the courage to do that. And I think it's sad. I wish they did, but I think it's sad. I get some people are like you and you guys, we're all in the same, cut out of the same cloth. We love adventure. We love to meet people and all, but they don't have to do it to our extent necessarily, pedal biking across America, walking around America, but just to get out and see different cultures, different traditions, different lifestyles. I think is a huge, huge benefit to one's soul.
I often think of this thing that the Amish have. It's Rumspringa, where once their child turns of a certain age, they're able to go out into the world and experience it for some designated period of time. I imagine benefits to something like that on a societal level, where instead of maybe going to college right when you're done with high school, it's the cultural norm that everybody gets out and they go traveling for a year. They go experience the world for a year. And I wonder, how do you think the world would change if something like that happened?
If more people were to travel,
yeah,
get out, yeah,
like a good chunk of time, not like a 2-week vacation.
Yeah, right, absolutely. I think it would. I think it would absolutely change the world, because the world would see a lot more kindness, a lot more love, a lot more positivity. Because there are many, many, many more people than there good people than there are bad people. And I think it would change the world. I really do, because people would be more appreciative of maybe what they have. They'd be more, they'd experience a lot more love and a lot more kindness, because there's more of that out there than there is negativity and bad. But we just hear about all the bad all the time. I absolutely think it'd change the world. I'd like to see it. I'd love to see that done. I would love to be able to see that done.
Just thinking about this now, I imagine too that it would rub off on us because, you know, we change so much by the interactions that we have with people. I imagine that people would be made a lot more charitable and generous if everybody got out there.
You learn to empathize with and understand such a variety of people than if you were to live in the same place forever. It creates a
Yeah,
completely.
I'm sorry. You guys cut out just a little bit. Let me hear that again. I'm sorry.
I was saying that it creates a different understanding and ability to empathize with other people when you
Yes.
meet such a variety.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it does create a different sense of appreciation of what you have, and empathy for what other people have and don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we're on to just our last couple questions here.
Okay.
In wrapping it up, what would you say is the best formula for contentment?
Wow. For contentment,
Yeah.
being appreciative of what you have, and being happy with what you have, thankful for what you have, and man, if you can look in the mirror and like who you see, uh, there's contentment. And obviously we don't all look in the mirror and love everything we see, because we all have flaws and faults and problems and everything. But um, it really is true. If you can find contentment within, however that works for you. And I think for us, it worked by getting out and risking and traveling and meeting new people. But if you could find the formula, your own personal way to be content inside, and love who you are and like who you are, as corny as it may sound, I think that's the biggest goal for contentment.
Wise words. And if you imagine that this podcast would reach every person in the world, what one thing would you want to convey to everybody?
Love is the answer. Love is the answer. Be kind, love each other. And if I had to add one more thing, it'd be go for it. If you want to try something new, go for it. Do it.
Life is too short.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And we hear those words all the time, but it's true. It really is true. Yep.
Well, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything you want to say before we get off here?
No, I just thank you for having me. And man, I would love to see the reactions or hear the reactions of people that have listened to this, and their thoughts, their comments and everything. I don't know if that's possible, but I really just appreciate you guys having me. You guys have been a big blessing in my life. When I met you there in Kansas, my friend Kim and I pulled over and told you where we live, and you guys came in. You're still making a big impact on Norcator, by the way. The locals in Norcator, a lot like we talk about, who have not been out or seen much, uh, they, they have lived through you all a little bit, which is very cool, because they still talk about you guys and Walking America and how cool that is, and the impact that you made on them on just that short time, that Friday night.
That's so sweet. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
We talk about Mercator and you and the town and the nice people there often too.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
good.
make your way into conversation with a frequency that I'm still surprised by.
Yeah.
Well, good. I appreciate that. And likewise, that's good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it has been great to hear your voice, Matt. I'm so glad that we were able
Likewise. I'm so glad to hear your all's voice, and glad you're doing well. I enjoy the pictures and the posts and everything. So keep those up, and do stay safe, and keep sharing the good story of love out there.
Absolutely. Well, have a good rest of your day, Matt.
Likewise, you guys too, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed this content, you can donate through one of the links on our website, walkingamericacouple.com. Or, as always, find us on the road. Thanks, America.